Welcome to the Wyoming Women's Business Center's 2021 webinar series. Today's presentation is 7 crucial tips for managers preparing for a post-COVID workplace. My name is Christine Langley, and I'm with the Wyoming Women's Business Center. I'm going to be your speaker today. So you'll notice the Zoom webinar bar on the bottom or top of your screen, depending on your screen orientation. And I just want to call quick attention to the questions panel. If you have any questions during the webinar today, I'd like you to use those to communicate with me. And then immediately following this presentation, we're going to launch a survey. I ask you to stay on the line for just a couple minutes and complete that survey. It provides us and our funding partners with valuable information so that we can plan future business education. Now, everybody is muted to minimize background noise today. So once again, if you have any questions, just go to that questions panel and I'll work on responding. All right, so we're going to get started with some quick information about the WWBC, and then we'll dive into our topic and finish up with a little Q&A at the end if anyone has any questions. I have reduced this down to a 15-minute format today to leave some time at the end, and I appreciate everybody joining us on what might be your lunch hour. So this is being recorded. It's going to be available on our YouTube channel. You can just go to youtube.com and search for the Wyoming Women's Business Center. I ask you to subscribe to our channel and check out all the other business education content that we've provided over the last several years. So for those of you new to us, the WWBC is a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to enable and empower Wyoming entrepreneurs. Of course, we have a special emphasis on women. And we do our work through 3 distinct programs. The first is our business counseling and training program, which is always free. The second is our microloan program, which offers loans anywhere from $500 up to $50,000. And that's for businesses that have been denied from a traditional lending source, like your local bank. And then the third is our Artist Development Center. And we run that in conjunction with our Works of Wyoming store in downtown Laramie. All right, so let's dive into our topic today on 7 crucial tips for managers that are preparing for a post-COVID workplace. Now, at the Women's Business Center, we have a strong emphasis on what I like to call micro enterprises. And micro enterprises are businesses that can be started for under $35,000, and they have less than 6 employees at the height of their success. And we know that in Wyoming, most of our micro enterprises are actually operating as both owner and operator. And that means that you're also typically serving as the human resources leader as well. So today I'm going to talk about things that you can do as a business owner to help the return to work post-COVID go as smoothly as possible. And my first recommendation is really to encourage business owners to recognize their own perspectives and concerns, because it's really important that you self-identify your own feelings around returning to the workplace, because I'm sure for many of you, you never left, even if you sent your employees home. And also your feelings around employees returning. Because if you don't validate your own feelings, then it's really hard to validate anyone else's. So what I'm getting at here is that a business owner, as a business owner, really only you can determine what your limitations are going to be for employee accommodations. And you need to decide what you can and you cannot offer. So I would encourage you to maintain openness, really, as you discover the interests and the needs of your employees. But at the end of the day, it's your business and it's your decision. Now, remember that every action has a consequence. And so you need to be prepared to manage those consequences if a decision or a limitation that you place on your employees creates some kind of a negative outcome. So for example, let's say you determine your office is going to be reopening on August 20th, and that all your full-time employees are going to be required to return to work at the office location from 8 to 5, no exceptions. Now, if you're the business owner, that's your prerogative, that's your decision. However, you may have an employee that isn't willing to accept that plan, and therefore they might render their resignation. And so the question is, are you prepared for that? And that's what I mean about consequences. All right, so we know as business owners that we need to validate employees' feelings and find out what's really on their mind. And so it's important that you listen to your employees' perspectives really using various channels. So I recommend focused employee surveys. This can be done really easily for free using Google Forms online, or you could use SurveyMonkey. They offer up to 10 questions for free. My personal favorite as a leader or as a manager is one-on-one conversations. So once you feel like you have a good grasp of any concerns or modifications that you may need to make, then it's time to have an all hands meeting. And it's really best to have an all hands meeting once you have something to share or announce, because I want you to beware of opening up a group conversation for people to talk about their individual concerns, right? That's best done on a one-on-one basis. And sometimes you don't want to open up that rabbit hole, right? So be sure that you're authorizing your one-on-one conversations separate from your all hands meeting. And your all hands meeting is reserved for announcements. So whether you're putting together a survey or having a one-on-one meeting, it's really important to ask employees about their outside work responsibilities as well, and what they are going to need to feel safe and comfortable to return to the office. And so be prepared to have your assumptions challenged here by some reasons or feelings that employees have about returning to the office. And I want you to remember that you've got multiple goals here. So of course, as a small business owner, you want to maintain and grow your profitable business. But that often comes down to retaining really exceptional employees. So stay open to feedback, stay open to their concerns and their needs. All right, our next tip is to make sure people are clear when the return to office process kicks off. So giving people time frames is going to alleviate some of your employees' kind of mental load that they may have attached to their uncertainty. And so again, try to think of this like the event that it is. It's going to require planning, preparation, lots of communication and reminders. It was a really big deal to close our offices and figure out how to work from home. And we've all created new habits to really function during the pandemic. So now that we're transitioning back to something that we abruptly gave up, and in some cases, remember that there are people out there that may feel like they're transitioning back into something that wasn't actually overly positive. So this is your chance. It's your chance for a reboot if that's needed. And so you want to give this the planning and the dedication that it deserves. All right, I think it's important to consider how productivity can be different person to person. So one of the best things about owning a micro enterprise is really the flexibility and the control that you have to quickly implement customized solutions in your business. So remember that you can do that with your employees too. Just because you have a job description written a certain way, remember that you can update and change it to match the needs of both your business and your employees now. What people really want in returning to the office or staying home is going to depend on an individual's job responsibilities, as well as their style and even their personality. So some employees thrive in an office space, and we know that, and others really do their best work in the serenity of their home. So I have a lot of clients that often ask me if they're allowed to offer one employee something different than another. And so I want to be really clear about what is required of you as a business owner by law. So the benefits that are required by law in Wyoming include unemployment insurance, the Family and Medical Leave Act, but really that only applies if you have more than 50 employees. So for the vast majority of my clients and micro enterprises, FMLA doesn't apply. You're required to provide workers' compensation. You're required to provide time off for military service or other required service. And you're required to withhold taxes. That's it. Okay. Flexible work schedules or accommodations, those can certainly be employee specific. And again, that's the great thing about being a small business owner. You get to make the rules that fit for your business. So get creative and secure the best talent for your business. And I think that this tip really flows nicely into my next one, which is to innovate with all. So some might be quick to put the decision-making responsibility all on the business owner, but I really think this is an opportunity to practice innovation and collaboration with your staff. So as an owner, you want to give people options and guidelines, but let them decide what works best for them. They may surprise you with some of their solutions, right? Things that you've never thought of. And we can all thank the Delta variant of COVID-19. We really all know that this pandemic is still raging in certain parts of the country, and depending on where people live and really their personal beliefs, vaccinations may be a long way off, and herd immunity might be a long way off, and outbreaks are likely to continue. So in this time, we need to be prepared to pivot and potentially pivot again. All right, now I know I just said that you're the business owner and you get to make the rules, but I'd be remiss if I didn't balance that with some discussion about fairness and inclusivity. So during this transition, there's a good chance that some concerns could creep up about favoritism. And there may be people left out or feeling like they're being treated unfairly. And so you need to be prepared for that or recognize that as you make certain employee accommodations. And so I want to encourage you really to think about your processes and your procedures for employees and do your best to create equity, right? Everyone wants to feel like they have a fair shot at succeeding. And as a business owner, you should want that too. But when it comes down to what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do, are you allowed to give your best employees some perks? Absolutely, right? This is America. Welcome to capitalism. That's part of the great thing about where we live. All right, I'm going to ask everybody to commit to ongoing evaluation and assessment. And I guess this is a nice add-on to being kind of open to those pivots that I talked about earlier as we manage our way through this unknown, of a global pandemic. And so I want to encourage you to survey your employees regularly on their thoughts, because this is going to ensure a successful and hopefully dread-free transition. So again, remember that surveys can be formal, they can be written, or really they can just be conversations. The key here is to level up your communication and keep that conversation going. And so how's the best way to do that? Well, I think you have to continue to ask this list of questions. Do employees feel supported by their colleagues as they return to work? Do employees feel they have the tools to go to work safely? Do employees feel their workplace also supports their responsibilities at home? Do employees trust their leaders' decisions? Do employees feel like they have a say in how they work? So if you're asking these core 5 questions on a regular basis, you're going to have all the feedback you need to make good decisions and set policies when it comes to returning to the workplace. And so last tip, but not least, once you've determined a plan to return to work, now it's time to communicate it. And so it's really important to prepare people for the new work arrangement and really recognize that some people are experiencing uncertainty and they may need a little more time to adjust. So think of this like a marketing communications plan. I want you to calendar out the announcements and the reminders. And I really recommend that you try to make the return almost a celebration or an event. It's a welcome back party, and you want to do your best to build positive anticipation rather than the opposite of that. All right, so I've left some time for questions. If anybody wants to pop into that questions panel and ask some questions, and while I give you some time for that, I'm just going to cover a few closing slides and some upcoming event information. So the Wyoming Women's Business Center is made possible through lots of partnership agencies, but our primary funding comes from the U.S. Small Business Administration, better known as SBA, and it's matched with the Wyoming Business Council. And so we're really thankful for the support and the guidance of our partners. And of course, we look forward to the work ahead. This is some contact information for myself. I'm the Director of Business Education at the Wyoming Women's Business Center. And then Jonathan Howdyshell is our business counselor on staff, and he does a lot of our one-on-one business counseling. So if you're interested in either one of those resources and feel the need to speak with either one of us, we have an open door policy, and you are welcome to contact us anytime through our phone or email. Upcoming webinars for the month of August. If you're listening to this now, you've covered the 7 crucial tips. Good job. Our next webinar is going to be happening on Thursday, August 19th. It's on internal marketing. What is it and why should you start? And then on August 24th, I'll be back with you on 10 tips for managing a hybrid team. If any of those business owners out there have decided that some people are coming back to the office and other people are going to be continuing to work remotely, we'll talk about how you can best manage that hybrid team. And then on August 26th, this is for people that have business ideas and are ready to start a business. I'm going to be talking about a new program that we're going to be hosting called Dream Builder. And we're going to give some great tips on the very first steps you should take to start a business. So please consider joining us on Thursday, August 26th. And as always, you can visit wyomingwomen.org and click on the training tab, and you can register for any of these webinars for free. All right, guys, I'm going to ask you to stay on the line for just a couple minutes and complete our survey as I close out. Thank you so much for attending. I've taken a look at my questions panel, and it looks like we don't have any burning questions today. So again, thanks everybody for joining us, and hopefully we will see you at some upcoming webinars this month. Have a great week. Bye-bye.